Good morning, Pokemon trainers, and welcome to day 2 here at the Frankfurt Regional Championships. I'm Luke Romy, joined by Romy once again. How are you feeling for day 2 in a top 16 cup?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I loved being in caster yesterday. I had so much fun. It was very tiring, but I'm really ready to give it my all today again.
Got rid of all those nerves?
No, there's still some
Just
left.
a few more. It will be your first top cut casting, so that's very exciting as well. And we have got a very exciting game for you as well. 2 players we didn't get to feature yesterday. We've got Matthias, whose surname I'm not going to attempt to pronounce, versus Florian. So going to be very exciting. Some interesting Pokemon on there as well. Some of the restricteds we've seen previously, but there's some of the common ones we were expecting to see again.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're going to see Kyogre and Groudon again because we're going to see another weather war that we've seen so many times yesterday.
Exactly. So critical, those weather wars at the moment. But we're not going to keep you guys waiting too much longer. The players are seated and they're ready, and we're just going to wait for the signal to the judge to be able to start the game. And then we'll be able to jump right in, get the action straight away. I think the coolest thing about today, though, is we're having a top 16 cup for the first time ever in a European regional.
Yeah, that's so exciting. We only usually have top 8 match and now top 16. I think, you know, the players that usually do good but not really good, you know, now really have a chance to shine because there's a top 16.
Exactly. If you're getting 9th place, you're not bubbling out anymore.
Yes.
You're actually going to be in top cut and compete in day 2.
Yeah, definitely. You can win your top 16 match and just get all the way to finals.
Exactly. More prize money on the line, more championship points. We yet to find out what the total CP bar will be to get into Worlds. So at the minute, it's all a mystery. And in a way, that makes those CP points even more crucial. Because at the end of the day, you don't know how many you're going to need. So you need as many as possible.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone, especially since, you know, this event is so big, it's the first really big European regional. Everyone just wants to get the CP here because you're going to have a big head start.
Exactly. So the more championship points you can get, the more chance you're going to be able to attend the World Championships. They're going to be in Washington, D.C. next year in August. So very exciting tournament. I know a lot of the players here today are going to be really looking for that World's invite. Have we got the go-ahead? I think we're just waiting for confirmation from the players. You know, it's the first game, sort of the top 16. They're all sort of seated ready. The rest of the tournament has already started. And one thing that's exciting about today as well is we've got a viewing area right behind us. So I don't know if you might pick up on the mic some of the players watching behind us the game.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think a lot of people here now, we didn't make day 2, do now have a chance to just relax, watch all the games and just see a lot of their friends playing probably.
Exactly, and unfortunately for them, they don't have any seats behind us. So we're feeling quite lucky with our seats here, and so's little Jolteon. And also, just out to Twitch there, little Jolteon didn't get a lot of love yesterday. He's trying his very best. So let's get some love in the Twitch chat for Jolteon. And of course, that hashtag Team Drizzle. Once again, thank you, Alex Agloza, for supporting us with this stream and giving us all this awesome content. But as you can see now up on your screens, the players are seated and ready. You've got Matthias on the left there and Florian on the right. So we're going to be jumping into team preview. Take it away, Romy.
Yeah, on Matthias' side, we actually see Xerneas, Incineroar, Groudon, Venusaur, Kartana, Heatran. And on Florian's side, we have Kartana, Ludicolo, Kyogre, Incineroar, Xerneas, and Amoonguss.
Yeah, on Florian's side, you've got that classic combination once again of Ludicolo and Kyogre. Loves being in the rain, that team. And it also helps support out the Kartana and the Amoonguss. 2 more grass types added to the 3rd by Ludicolo. They all do not like taking fire type attacks. So having that rain up there doesn't necessarily always help out Kartana because his defenses are quite frail, but it certainly helps support them from taking those fire type attacks that you can see so strong on Matthias' side. So where you've got the 3 sort of grass types on Florian's, you've got Incineroar, Groudon, and Heatran, who all love the sunshine, as does the Venusaur. So I think you were saying in your team preview there, Romy, the weather wars are going to be strong. I think it's definitely going to be the key for these players. They need to make sure their ball positioning of their Kyogre and Groudon respectively are so strong. Because if you get the sun up on Matthias' side, all those Pokemon are going to have the boost. And as we saw yesterday, Venusaur and Sun can just absolutely wall through a team. Yeah,
definitely. I think that's something Florian really has to worry about because if that Venusaur gets that sun up, it's going to be incredibly fast and it can really wreak havoc on Florian's team.
It certainly can. So I think getting the weather up is going to be really, really crucial here. As well to note, there's no Alolan Guardians. So none of these terrain wars are going to be happening, something we saw a lot in previous seasons, which means that Amoonguss, if it's packing something like Spore, which let's be honest, they most often are, as will the Venusaur with Sleep Powder, they're going to be able to get those moves off. But if you are Matthias, if you're going for that Sleep Powder with your Venusaur, you've got 3 grass types on the opposing side. They obviously cannot be put to sleep by that move. So if you're going for that strategy, you might want to be rethinking it a little bit. But I wouldn't be surprised to maybe see the Incineroar will be coming out here quite a lot as well for Fake Out, which we loved yesterday.
Yeah, Incineroar has been such a strong and dominant Pokemon in this format, and we are going to see the leads from Matthias' side here. We actually have... Wait.
I feel like they might have...
The name switch around thing.
Yeah,
on
they've done a
Matthias'
little
side we do
switch.
actually see the Cortana and the Groudon. And on Florian's side we have Amoonguss and Incineroar.
Yeah, so we've got the weather going on here straight away with the fire. It's going to be Groudon and Cortana there. Going to be helping out the Incineroar on the opposing side if it wants to go for any of these powerful Flare Blitz, but it's going to have to worry about taking a Precipice Blades from the Groudon. Obviously, with the Intimidate, it will be doing a little bit less damage, but we've even seen if it's something like a Choice Band Groudon, it can still pick up the KO.
And even with Life Orb, if it's like really offensive Groudon, it can still actually take the KO here. So I think Florian really has to worry about this Groudon on the field now.
Yes, exactly. And you have to worry about Florian potentially bringing in something like the Kyogre as well, just to completely get rid of the sunshine that's out there at the moment. Because if he can get that rain up on his side, it's going to be negating a lot of the fire-type attacks that the Groudon wants to maybe get out into that Amoonguss. You want to get rid of that threat of the Sport and the redirection as well, because it can be so sort of catastrophic to your opponent's gameplay. But Heatran's going to jump in instead.
Yeah, we actually see the Groudon switching out for this Heatran, and we do see Florian switching in this Kyogre. Yeah, it was a really smart play. You know, just make sure you get rid of that sun and get your rain up.
Exactly, but I love switching out the Groudon though, because now you have the opportunity to bring it back in later, get the sun up, and help that Heatran out.
Yeah, we do see Cortana going for a big Sacred Sword here.
Critical
that was
hit.
a critical hit.
Oh my gosh, top 16, the action's already hitting the critical points here. And, you know, it gets the beast boost as well. Cortana, when its attack just keeps getting boosted up, is so strong. And straight away for Florian as well, to lose his Incineroar so early on, you know, that can really affect him later on. Incineroar loves to switch out, come back in, intimidate and fake out, and help out the ball positioning of his the other Pokemon on Florian's side. So to lose that Pokemon so early and in such an unfortunate way, you need to maybe regroup here. But this could be a good opportunity to bring in that Ludicolo if he's got it in the back.
Yeah, I think that would have been his best choice if he actually did bring it, because losing, you know, his Incineroar, his Intimidate ability, you know, against a Groudon and a Cortana is just incredibly good. And just him losing it, I think is going to make this battle a lot tougher for him. And we do see the Xerneas joining the field here.
Yeah, Xerneas joining the field. It's interesting. When you look at Matthias' side, he's got the Groudon and Xerneas core that seems to be really common. But on Florian's side, we actually see it paired up with a Kyogre. So special attack being the strong core choice that he's going for. And I think as well, Kyogre staying in here wouldn't be the worst play in the world, because even if Groudon does switch in and get the sun up, a Water Spout, if it's potentially something like Choice Scarf, is going to be dealing about 50% to that Groudon. And the Heatran as well doesn't want to be taking that.
No, definitely. You know, but I think, you know, Florian really has to worry about this Cortana, because if it goes for something like a Leaf Blade with a +1 Beast Boost, I think it's going to be able to take a KO, depending on how this Kyogre is built, of course, but that Cortana is incredibly strong.
Exactly, and Leaf Blade as well has a high chance to crit. Slightly concerned about that.
Yeah, definitely see the Kyogre switching out for Amoonguss here. I think it was really smart. I don't think Florian really has to keep his Kyogre in there and getting Leaf Blade. And we do see Cortana going for a Leaf Blade into that Amoonguss. And we do actually see the Xerneas going for a big Geomancy here. Yeah, I think there wasn't really much Matthias could do about it.
No, very true. I mean, there could be some Steel-type moves coming in its direction now that it's all boosted up, but particularly if it's coming out from that Heatran, that's a special attacking kind of Pokemon. Xerneas just got a +2 special defense boost, so it's going to be able to take them like an absolute champ. It's going to be the Roar, though, interestingly enough, from that Heatran, so it doesn't even need the Steel-type, just needs the Roar, get rid of that Xerneas, and that was a great play from Matthias there.
Yeah, I think it was really smart switching that Heatran in, and I think it was really scared of Xerneas coming in here, and now he's just going for a Roar, and Florian just lost his +2 Xerneas here.
Exactly. These two Steel types from Matthias' side is really going through Florian's team. You have the Cortana taking down the Incineroar, and now that Heatran has negated the big play that you want to go for on a Xerneas, and the Kyogre as well is going to be KO'd by that +1 Leaf Blade from the Cortana, now going to be at +2.
Yeah, Matthias in a very dominant position here. You know, Florian actually already lost 2 of his mons here, and Matthias hasn't really taken that much damage so far.
No, and that single target heat wave as well did so much even in the rain.
Did we just see safety goggles go off?
Oh, I think we did. I think the problem with this is our German is not up to the pure standard. I think Romy managed to catch that with a little bit more German she knows than I do. But yeah, it looks like safety goggles Heatran there.
Yeah, because I think Amoonguss just went for a Spore there, and I think it was really big that this Heatran actually has safety goggles, because it being not able to be Spored, it can just go for another Heat Wave next turn.
Exactly, and even if the rain stays up, we've seen how much damage that does to the Amoonguss, but all Matthias has to do really is switch in his Groudon here, and that Heat Wave, I'm sure, will pick up the KO against Amoonguss. Xerneas as well is not going to appreciate that. It's lost its boosts because of that Roar, and this Heatran just being the sort of MVP for Matthias here.
Oh, did we just see a forfeit?
Yeah, seen a forfeit there. So Florian, knowing that, I feel like he couldn't come back from that position. And it's one of those things you might want to... We saw it a lot yesterday where the players were maybe taking... they were in a losing position in the game, but they took the extra time to maybe get a game plan. But it seems like Florian just wants to jump straight into game 2. And you can see our winner there, Matthias, 1 game up. They're fighting it out for top 8.
Yeah, I think Florian probably just really has a game plan and he wants to go for it in game 2. He just realizes, okay, Matthias can just switch in his Groudon, Heatran go for Heat Wave, and I don't have a boosted Xerneas or can get it up. So I think it was a really smart decision from Florian. Maybe just making sure that he doesn't reveal all of his team. So Matthias has a little bit more trouble maybe going for, okay, what is he going to do in game 2? Because I feel like Matthias really has to worry, okay, he did press that forfeit. Does he have a really strong game plan for game 2?
Exactly, he wanted to get into that game really quickly. And if I was Florian, to be honest, I would like him to see the Ludicolo, because we were talking about the weather a lot, as we will do always when it's Kyogre and Groudon. But interestingly enough, Matthias let him have the rain up for a lot of that game. Groudon only really came at the beginning and then went out into the back. And although Matthias could have brought it in any time, he wasn't scared having his Heatran on the field or anything like that. He was happy to have the rain up. So Florian can potentially utilize that. If he can get the rain up in a good dominant position and have that Ludicolo on the field next to Kyogre, he can start dealing out loads more damage. And I think that's the one thing that Matthias really stopped happening. Yes, the critical hit was unfortunate, but he then stopped Florian from having access to that fake out, allowing the partner Pokemon to deal out loads of damage.
Yeah, I think it's also good for Florian to know that this Heatran has Roar.
Yes.
Of course, he didn't know it in game 1, and he did just lose his +2 Xerneas to something like Roar. So I think definitely for something like game 2, you know it. Maybe he decides to actually maybe not bring the Xerneas, or just make sure that you actually bring it as one of your last mons, since if you only have 2 mons left, it can't be roared out. So I think that's maybe more of a game plan for Florian here. Just bring it in the bag.
Exactly. Keep it for the late game play. Because, like you said, if you can get that set up, it can absolutely dominate through a team. And I think that was the other thing Matthias did. The damage output that Xerneas is capable of, he completely negated. So he just stopped Florian being able to give any offensive pressure back against his team.
Yeah, I'm really excited what both of these players, if they change up their leads, if they maybe think like, okay, Matthias maybe was like, okay, Florian's maybe going to change up his lead, but Matthias actually going for the same, the Kartana and the Heatran this time, and we do actually see Incineroar and Xerneas on Florian's side, so that Heatran being on the field again is really, really good for Matthias.
It certainly is. And Xerneas not hanging out in the back in this game. It's going to be jumping out as the leads. Intimidate coming off from the Incineroar there. Heatran not going to mind. But of course, Kartana, it got 2 attack boosts in that previous game. It doesn't want to have its attack lowered. It'll have to take down 3 Pokemon to get it back up to what it was in game 1. But Xerneas as well does not want to be facing down against these Pokemon. Even if that Kartana has been intimidated, it could still deal a good amount of damage.
Yeah, and his Heatran is kind of a really big problem for him, because even if he gets a Geomancy boost up, I don't think he's going to really be able to get rid of that Heatran before it goes for Roar.
Exactly. There's not a lot that he can really do in this position. Potentially go for the fake out, but then you have to be able to take down the Heatran. If it's got something like the Flash Fire ability, you can't hit that with any fire type moves. So Incineroar here, able to take the Sacred Sword this time, easily with the Intimidate as well. As Heatran does go for an Earth Power, so doubling up into this Incineroar, but it does manage to survive. It's come back so strong in this game too. No critical hits and manages to take a double target. So getting the Berry as well, that's really crucial for him going into the next turn. He can easily take another Sacred Sword from that Kartana, but goes for a U-turn. So wants to keep that fake out and intimidate that he wasn't able to utilize in game 1. And I think it's the key thing we've seen with Incineroar. Lots of players are using it in their team. It's probably one of those popular Pokemon in last format and this one. You just can't beat the big fiery kitty cat. But Ludicolo going to be jumping in its place. So once again, fake out on the field.
Yeah, fake out is such a strong move. And I think him actually going for U-turn, just making sure that he can switch up his board position is a really smart play. I mean, this Heatran is still on the field. It means it's not very safe for Florian to go for Geomancy. So maybe I think it's very smart, just bringing Ludicolo here, just try to get rid of the Heatran here.
Exactly, and that's Xerneas as well. You could switch in something like the Kyogre, get the rain up, and then that Ludicolo is going to be dealing a huge amount of damage to something like the Heatran, or it could even target down into that Kartana with an Ice Beam, but Heatran, I think, being a little bit afraid there, jumps back to its trainer.
Yeah, I think it's a really smart play. Matthias probably just really needs to make sure that he keeps this Heatran around until he deals effectively with the Xerneas, and another critical hit for the fake out here, but of course not going to matter that much for a fake out. And we do see Cortana going for a leaf blade into that Ludicolo, and we do actually see Xerneas just going for a Geomancy here. Florian just calling the switch out here, maybe?
Exactly, Florian being really brave with that Xerneas as well, boosting it right up. But obviously it is now facing down against that Venusaur. Yes, it's got the special defense boost, so the Sludge Bombs won't be doing as much, but Venusaur is able and capable to put this Pokemon to sleep.
Yeah, okay, luckily there is no sun up yet, so that means it's not going to be that fast.
That's also very true, but you know, if that Groudon jumps in, then it could be a whole different ballgame. And I think this is where the weather's going to be so interesting at the moment, because yes, you've got Ludicolo on Florian's side, but he doesn't want to switch out that Xerneas to bring in the rain. So potentially could be something he wants to keep for later. He could switch out the Ludicolo and get the rain up. But actually, it's going to be the...
Xerneas going for a Side Shock here. That's not something you really see a lot on a Xerneas, but it's really, really good against Venusaur.
And that worked so well for him there. Got rid of such a big threat on the field. As Ludicolo will be KO'd in return, though, by the Kartana. But getting rid of that Venusaur is so good for him as well. The Ludicolo doesn't want to take any poison-type moves. Florian doesn't want any of his Pokemon to have to go to sleep, particularly if the sun gets up. So removing that threat was really good for him. But he does have to sacrifice that KO with the Kartana getting the Beast Boost as well, though.
Yeah, definitely. And now he does face down a Beast Boosted Kartana. So maybe if this Kartana is running something like Smart Strike, it can possibly just pick up the KO on the Xerneas.
Yeah, I mean, it's back at neutral now, but that's still heavily threatening against that Xerneas. And it's one of these things with Kartana. If you leave it untouched, we saw it in Game 1, it could get another Beast Boost. And it can easily start racking them up. And as you can see here again, Kartana versus Kartana. Those are two Pokemon that often like to target each other down with Sacred Sword as well. And again, Sacred Sword's not a move the Heatran necessarily wants to take, but again, Kartana doesn't want to face a Heatran either, so there's a lot of games going on here.
Yeah, okay, of course Kartana is going to be the faster one, but Heatran usually a little bit more bulky, so I assume it can very safely just live a Sacred Sword. And it's, of course, the Xerneas, it is a +2, and I think it's very safe to just go for a Moonblast into that Kartana. Just make sure that you get rid of it.
Exactly, you could get rid of the Kartana, but you have to fear that Roar. Unfortunately, you've still got 3 Pokemon on Florian's side. I say unfortunately, I mean, it's great to have more Pokemon, but if you were down to 2, like you were mentioning earlier, Romy, that Xerneas couldn't be roared out. But going straight for that Kartana, so going to be actually able to pick up the KO, even though it's not very effective, just shows that the boost is so crucial here. As Kartana, I think this is going for a Sacred Sword. Yes, into
definitely.
that Heatran. Doesn't quite pick up the KO. Are we going to see a Roar?
We're actually going to see a Heat Wave here, just not afraid of the Xerneas here, and we are actually going to see a Focus Sash on the Kartana here. I think it was a pretty good turn for Florian here.
It certainly was. Revealing that little bit of information to Matthias, I think, is completely justified here if you're able to keep both of your Pokemon on the field. Do you have to worry a little bit about the fact that the sun is up and that both these Pokemon are going to have really strong Fire-type attacks, but Matthias has to be so worried about that Xerneas. He's allowed it to set up. He didn't get rid of it with Roar when he had the opportunity to, and that could really cost him this game too.
Yeah, definitely. He's now just down to his... do we see another forfeit?
That was another forfeit. I'm learning German here.
Yeah, me too.
I love this. This is like the bonus of casting German games. So Matthias actually, I think we were sort of saying that he couldn't get past that Xerneas.
No, I think for Game 3 he really has to worry about his Xerneas more, because he just let it set up, he switched out the Heatran. Even when he got it back in, he didn't go for Roar, he just went for Heat Wave, which of course is understandable. The Cortana is just really scary, and I think he may have just hoped that it was something like a Assault Vest and that it would just take it out. Because of course, you know, the Xerneas should have probably attacked into the Groudon next turn, which means he could have gotten off a Roar, but the Kartana was a Focus Sash, and I think it was really important for Florian here.
Definitely the best item choice in that situation on the Kartana, and we've seen a nice mix of items on Kartana lately, but I do think Focus Sash does allow you, particularly as it's such a good powerhouse, and it's so frail anyway, it allows you to potentially get one more turn off from that speedy little Grass and Steel type. But the one thing I found very interesting so far is neither player has really utilised their weather that strongly, which is quite nice. It's very refreshing. But for example, Florian had the Ludicolo there, and we didn't see it interact with the Kyogre at all, if that was a Pokemon in the back that he had. It managed to hold its own really strong, got the Fake Out off in the right time, so everything worked really well for him there. And the same with Matthias, that Groudon only came in very late game. He had it in the back.
Yeah, I think for both players, they kind of want to win this like end game weather war, and I think is that why they just keep it in the back, just make sure, okay, if my opponent has only 2 months left, then I can switch it in, and then I will have to weather for the rest of the game. I think both of these players really realize that.
No, exactly. And as well, like with Florian, we were saying, keep the Xerneas in the back. keep that as your end game plan. But he's like, no, we'll keep Kyogre in the back. Xerneas is going out as my lead. And I wonder if that's something he's going to stick with again, or if he is potentially this time going to keep it in the back, because even though it worked out so well for him in game 2, Matthias had the opportunity to roar it away, and that would have completely destroyed the situation there. I feel like Matthias either was trying to read into that too much, or maybe the roar was too obvious and he thought Florian wouldn't go for it. Maybe he'd switch out the Pokemon anyway. Who knows? But the roar unfortunately didn't go off from Matthias, and it gave Florian the win. But top 16 cut, and we're in game 3. This always happens with you, I think, Romy.
Yeah, I think it's just me.
They want to keep playing so that we can hear more of you.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's definitely here. We do see the leads here. Matthias switching up and actually leading the Venusaur and Heatran here. And we see, again, Incineroar and Xerneas, but works so well for Florian in game 2.
Yeah, Florian sticking with those leads. Matthias really shaking up here. You've got the Venusaur and the Heatran out, both sort of frog, toad-like Pokemon. I'll probably get a debate about that going on now. But both these Pokemon love to be in the sun, and neither of them are there at the moment. But they can either be faked out by that Incineroar, giving Xerneas the chance to maybe set up a Geomancy. But if it does, it's got the risk of either being roared out by the Heatran or being put to sleep by the Venusaur. So in a way, Matthias has left quite an interesting lead, but he's ultimately shutting down the Xerneas, which is what gave him so much trouble last game.
Yeah, he definitely does have to worry about the Psyshock coming out from the Xerneas.
That's true. Maybe no Geomancy at all.
No, I think it's just a little bit safer to actually maybe not go for a Geomancy. We do actually see the Ludicolo switch in here. Maybe just goes for a Protect and try to get it set up next turn.
Yep, that's exactly what it looks like is happening. It's going for the Protect. So even if it does get roared out, it's still got its boost intact to maybe go for it later on in the game. But Heatran actually going to go for the Earth Power, which we saw it go for in game 2. And Ludicolo obviously going to be able to take that really well. I'm not sure what move it was from Venusaur.
I think it was Sleep Powder.
Sleep Powder. Could have been Sludge Bomb for all my German, lets me know. But either way, Xerneas protecting. Saves itself from any damage there.
Yeah, I think it was really, really smart. I think Florian just wanted to make sure, okay, I don't want to set it up and get roared out immediately.
No, very true. But the thing I love as well, he switched out that Incineroar, so in a way didn't utilize the fake out. He's now just switched in another Pokemon that can utilize it again this turn. And if he is worried about the Roar potentially coming out from the Heatran, he could always fake out the Venusaur, switch in something like the Kyogre, get that rain up. You know, Kyogre's not going to mind being roared out again. Maybe you'd even switch back in the Xerneas. It's not like you can reset your own weather. He's only got the rain on there. And then Ludicolo is going to be in a great position for the next turn. But Venusaur, I think, fearing that Psyshock, maybe he's just gone for a Protect.
Yeah, the Psyshock is probably going to be enough to pick up the KO. I'm not sure what just happened in German.
No, it was the heat wave coming out from the Heatran, but Xerneas actually avoided it, so no Roar still.
No.
And Xerneas yet to... I'm not sure what move Xerneas went for. But either way, the Heatran was not super accurate onto that opposing Xerneas, but no Geomancy. I think that's the crucial thing to take from that turn. Xerneas does still have its Geomancy intact.
Yeah, I think Florian just worries too much about his Heatran, but it just hasn't been going for these roars.
No, it's one of those things. He revealed it so boldly in game 1, and then he's kept it quite conservatively played at the moment. Maybe he just doesn't want to go for the obvious play. But I think you have to worry about both these Pokemon. If you've still got your Xerneas on the field, it might be worth Florian removing it. And he actually goes for the Psyshock. Maybe I think that's what he did go for in the previous turn, but obviously there was a Protect. But Venusaur able to take it this turn, going into the red health though.
Yeah, definitely. And are we going to see a Fling?
Yeah, I think that was King's Rock.
I think as well.
Yeah, that was King's Rock Fling into the Venusaur, so that Pokemon will be flinching this turn. But Matthias has actually gone, no, do you know what? We want to see the Roar. We've got the Roar out, and now we have a Kartana on the field.
Yeah, something with the Roar is something a little bit scary to click, because what is he going to switch back in?
Oh, I loved seeing that King's Rock Fling, though. That was a very interesting choice in Ludicolo. We've seen a lot of Life Orb on there, sometimes the odd Berry, but never the King's Rock. But unfortunately, it didn't work out for him too well in that play, because Venusaur, it didn't get KO'd by the Psyshock. Yes, it managed to shut him down, but getting the Roar out there has just removed Xerneas from the field completely. So even if he was maybe... I think he was maybe hoping to get a KO with that Psyshock.
I think as well, and maybe this Venusaur is just built a little bit more bulky, and of course Xerneas is not going to get like the step from it which usually get from the Moonblast and the Dazzling Gleam and the boosters from Fairy Aura, of course. So usually stuff like that, the damage is a little bit underwhelming.
No, very true. But Kartana, the big damage outputter, does a huge Sacred Sword onto that Heatran. Heatran going to go back with a Heat Wave. Does manage to catch on both the opposing Pokemon this time. Will get the KO on that Ludicolo, but once again activates the Focus Sash on the Kartana.
Yeah, I think that was a really good play from Matthias here. Just making sure he gets rid of the Ludicolo. In case he does have Kyogre in the back, just making sure that he can't utilize that rain too much.
Exactly, and it's going to be the Xerneas coming out here. And actually, I think looking at Florian's Pokemon, he doesn't have the Kyogre. He has benched it. We've got the Incineroar and the Kartana out on the field, so we've seen all of his Pokemon. So that's good information from Matthias there, actually. Interesting that he hasn't brought one of his restricted. So that's always quite a risky play, I think. But at the end of the day, it's not all about those two Pokemon. It's about the team of 6 as it is. And this Xerneas back on the field again, still hasn't boosted yet.
Yeah, I think the thing you have to worry about with Xerneas is that it can wreck to your entire team if it gets set up. And I think, Kartana can now just get rid of that Heatran, and maybe we do actually see the Xerneas going for a Geomancy this turn.
Exactly, Kartana getting rid of that Heatran, doesn't have to fear the Roar anymore at all. And of course, Kartana going to get the Beast Boost up as well. Interesting enough, now the Groudon's on the field. It's managed to switch in, won't be going this turn. It's going to have to take a Moonblast straight away from this Xerneas. Even unboosted, that does a huge amount of damage, and it now has to worry about that Kartana as well with a powerful Leaf Blade.
Yeah, definitely. I think, especially with the Beast Boost and Groudon just being a ground type, he can just very well just go for a Leaf Blade into the Groudon, but he does have the Venusaur in the back, and that's kind of where I assume is going to switch in here.
Exactly. Knowing that there is no Kyogre as well, you're going to have the Sun up. Like, whether you want it or not, it's up. Groudon's on the field. So is the Venusaur, and now with the Chlorophyll ability activating, those Sleep Powders could connect onto that Xerneas.
Yeah, of course, it's not a perfectly accurate move, so it does really have to hope that it actually hits.
He'll be crossing his fingers. And trying to maybe put that Xerneas to sleep. Obviously, it can't affect Kartana, but if you can stop that Xerneas getting a Geomancy up or putting it to sleep after the Geomancy, you can start targeting it down while it's unable to move.
Yeah, we do see Xerneas just going for a Protector. Probably just doesn't want to face something like a Sleep Powder. And we actually see a Grass Knot going into the Kartana here.
That's such a brilliant play by Matthias there, knowing that the Xerneas might protect just so it doesn't get sleep powdered. And, even though it's Grass Knot onto a Kartana, it's only at 1 HP. You can just clear that threat from the field, and now Venusaur looks in such a great position going into the next turn.
Yeah, definitely, especially, just still with that Sun Up. I'm really wondering why Florian didn't bring the Kyogre here, because I think it would have been really, really good right here. Just making sure that the Venusaur isn't as fast.
No, exactly. I think it's an interesting choice, particularly as he did bring the Ludicolo. And I was thinking it would be good to have the two of them out on the field together and go for that, yes, maybe well-known strategy, but at the end of the day, it's one of the most popular calls for a reason. And I feel like it would have worked really well against this team. Even with the Venusaur, you can start tackling it down with Ice Beams and things like that, and just shutting down its ability. And I feel like where Matthias let the Xerneas get so strong in Game 2, Florian has let the Venusaur be so strong in Games 1 and 3.
Yeah, we do actually... I assume it was a fake out going into that
I think
Venusaur, and we are actually going to see the Geomancy finally go up for that Xerneas. I was hoping for it so long.
Yeah, it's been waiting for a long time to get that up, and finally manages to get all the boost that it needs. But it does still have to worry about the Sun. At the end of the day, you can't fake out again, and Venusaur is going to be able to go for that Sleep Powder and put it to sleep. But I guess at the same time, the Groudon, I believe, has been intimidated by the Incineroar.
Yes.
So Precipice Blade's not going to be dealing as much damage, but let's see how much it does.
Is it enough to...
It does.
It is more than enough to actually pick up the KO on this Incineroar here, so it might actually be something like Bandit?
Yeah, it could potentially be, but I mean, poor Xerneas now up against the world, and it's just going to be put straight to sleep, leaving Matthias in a position to be able to just go for things like a Fire Punch. You want to go for the more accurate move at this stage, I think, and particularly in Sun, that's going to deal a huge amount of damage. Xerneas doesn't have any defense boosts, so I think where it just came down to was not being able to shut down this Venusaur, and Matthias is going to be able to close this up.
Yeah, we actually... The Xerneas was actually faster than the Venusaur here. I'm really wondering why he doesn't have Dazzling Gleam, because he has actually Psyshock.
That's very true. No spread type attacks. And Groudon, actually being brave, goes for the Precipice Blades, does connect.
I think it was Bandit, so we kind of had to go for the Precipice Blades
That's
again. But it was
true.
enough to pick up the KO on the Xerneas here.
Oh, it's just one of those things. I see Precipice Blades outside of Gravity and my heart just races. It's not something I can do. So all credit to Matthias there, being brave enough to click it. And at the end of the day, he's got into top 8.
Yeah, very, very dominant even. And even though the Xerneas eventually was set up, was a little bit too late.
Yeah, I think, like you said, a little bit too late, and maybe our advice of keeping it in the back just wasn't the play.
Maybe
Clearly it wasn't.
But I also think not bringing the Kyogre against such a strong Sun team, I think he maybe just hoped that he would get the Xerneas off. That's why he maybe brought all these support mons from the Xerneas.
That's true.
And bringing the Cortana to like really easily deal with the Heatran, because we did see
how much damage it did.
It did so much damage with those Sacred Swords, but not bringing the Kyogre.
Very interesting choice, and I think, like you said, it's such a strong Sun team, and to not have that weather to kind of negate the damage that it can do and break down that strategy. What he basically was doing was not forcing Matthias to adjust his strategy at all. He had no way to break it down, and once you managed to get the Groudon and Venusaur on the field together, it did what it did best, and it managed to get the victory.
Yeah, it's a very, very strong core, especially if you just kind of ignore it at this point. Not bringing the Kyogre.
Interesting choice, but either way, we've had our first top 16 cut game.
Yeah.
Hopefully it was very enjoyable for you guys at home, and we will be grabbing Matthias for an interview very quickly just to have a little recap on that team, so don't go anywhere. Hello trainers, and welcome back. I'm joined by the winner of our first ever top 16 in a European regional cut game. How did you find that? It was very exciting for us to cast over.
Yeah, it was really exciting. Like I never played Florian before in like a current VGC format, so I didn't know what to expect from him. I know what he would play because I researched a bit about his team. Yep. But there still was a lot that I didn't know, and also everything. I was just told that he plays really well, and so I was kind of excited, but really glad I made it, of course.
Well, you both have very strong weather teams. You had a lot of fire on your side, and he had a lot of the rain. One thing Romy and I were asking was, in Game 3, he didn't bring the Kyogre. Did that surprise you?
Maybe a bit. If I knew that he hadn't brought it, I probably would have brought my Incineroar too, because this Katana is pretty strong against my team if I don't bring Incineroar. The problem is I really need Heatran. I also need Groudon to get rid of the rain, then I can't pick my third water weakness. That's kind of impossible.
A little bit brave.
Yeah, so like Katana is a problem. I was a bit surprised, but also he didn't. I don't think it was a mistake, because you saw how close it was. Like
very, very close game.
It was really important that the Precipice Blades KO'd the Incineroar. That was big.
Did a lot of damage.
I don't know if that was secure. Yeah.
When it was Precipice Blades, it's never secure that it's going to hit.
That's true. It also had to connect, definitely.
Very, very brave clicking that button. But of course, it was the top 16 game. You're now into top 8. Do you feel confident enough to be able to take this all the way, potentially?
Yeah, why not? I got so far, why wouldn't I get any further? Of course, it's still a long way to go. I know either have to play Raphael or Eric now. Both are great players, and I don't know what to expect of either of them. So
But it's good to hear you so confident in your team. It's got you through this far as well, but you're still really believing in it.
Actually not my team. I got it from a friend.
We have seen it a few times, but still, you trust in that build. And that Heatran in particular worked out so well for you with the Roar and safety goggles and everything. It was really, really interesting to see. Is that something that, in the particular team, is one of your favorite Pokemon with it? What do you feel about that with the composition?
I think my favorite Pokemon on the team is Groudon. I don't know, when this format started, I was like, okay, Groudon's not going to be good with all the primal
Everyone
evolution.
said that at the beginning.
It doesn't get the fire stab. It gets still on Sun gets so much damage from Kyogre, but actually it's so good. I was so surprised by that. Actually, it's MVP. But Heatran is also pretty cool. You never saw that. Basically, you almost never saw it. Wolfie played it once, but except never in 16.
Yeah.
And now it's actually a good Pokemon.
Well, it's definitely doing very well in this regional, and the Groudon, even though it doesn't have the fire type, who needs that anyway? It'll get it back at some point in the season, but we don't want to keep you too long. We want to get you into your top 8 game and let you have a little bit of a rest. But just before we go, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to while you're on stream?
Yeah, sure. First of all, always to my parents who support me all the time. To my friends, especially to Jonathan Evans, who helped me out with the team. I wasn't prepared for this. Usually I would count so much more people, but now it's whatever.
These are the ones springing to mind straight away. But thank you so much for joining us for this interview. Go get some rest and best of luck in top 8. Don't go anywhere, guys. We're going to bring you the action as soon as we can.